Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this fifth webinar in the series of utilities fighting COVID. I've said good afternoon, but I should say good morning and almost good night in some cases, because we have participants, speakers and participants from all over the world. So thanks a lot for the effort of joining. Today, we are going to be finally addressing specifically WOPs and how WOPs have been affected by COVID, how WOPs are been managing this distance challenges of various natures during this time. So I am just going to share my screen. There you go. Okay. It should be visible now. Yeah. Okay. Now, okay, so the title of the webinar of today's Distance Makes the WOP Grow Stronger, Challenges and Opportunities for Peer-to-Peer Learning in a COVID-19 Context. As I said before, this is the fifth webinar of a series that have been co-organized by GIZ and GWOPA, and in this case also Waterworks program. It's really great to have you all here. We are hopefully going to have a lot of discussions on how these projects have been running during these months. Next, yeah, okay, some housekeeping rules, just as a guidance. Already Craig indicated for some of you, but it's important that those of you who are not familiar or who do not know Spanish or English, to change and to select in the globe icon which language do you want to be using for the webinar, okay? Then throughout the webinar we will be having different speakers, but the questions are going to be addressed through the Q&A icon that you have there. So if throughout you have any question, please just type it in, and then when time comes, we will just share the questions to any speaker that you would like to address it to. And then for technical issues, there is the chat box. So if you have any problem with the connection, please include it there, and our technical team will help you as soon as possible. All right, now, so the session of today is going to be having several speakers. We will have first an introduction that I will give a few data, a few statistics on WOPs today. Then we'll have Anke Verhaeg, Deputy Coordinator of Waterworks program, who will give a keynote sharing the experiences of 27 projects that are running in parallel since the beginning of the Waterworks program started. So she'll have a lot to share on how the whole program has been impacted by COVID. And then we'll have a panel, and in the panel we'll have Charlotte Kopf from the Dresden Water Utility, who will be sharing also her experience and their experience on the WOP that they are currently started with water utility in Ukraine. Then we'll have Noriel Katipon, project manager in Manila Water Company, who will be sharing also the experiences that they are having through this time in the WOP between Manila Water and Dabaco in Da Nang. And we'll have Fernando Luis Villalbir, who will also be sharing the experiences that they are having on the successful experience that they've been implemented with Aguas de Quito during this time. All right, so let's just start with, for those of you participants who are not familiar with the terminology or with the concept of a WOP, how we generally define WOP is a non-for-profit partnership between two or more water operators that it's focused on developing the capacity and the emphasis on developing the capacity, on supporting the capacity development rather than substitute it, different from other approaches to development cooperation. And this is very important, distinguishing characteristic. WOPs tend to be relational based, so of course they have an agreement, there is a contract, but throughout time the partnership gets the emphasis on the project, and the relationship and the trust is what drives generally the direction of the projects. They do start, of course, with a duration, that a confined duration based probably on funding in most cases, but they do have that long-term aspiration in the sense that depending on the needs, partners generally commit to help one another. And then they are flexible in the sense that, and we will see that very well today, in the sense that whenever an emergency occurs, generally they are very adaptive. Okay, just to give a bit of a landscape of WOPs in the last decade and where are we today. You can see here, it's very small, but you can see at least the cumulative number of WOPs that are registered in GWOPA's database throughout the years. At the moment, I think the latest figure in 2019 was 359, and it's growing. In 2019, there were 16 new WOPs that started, and you can see in the map where they started. It's quite diverse. WOPs are happening in all the regions. A bit of analysis of the database, you can see that 53% at the moment are South-South. More than 50% are medium-term, and that means ranging from 12 months of support to 35 months. And the top thematic areas are non-revenue water, operational maintenance, and asset management, and service to the poor. And finally, just to give this quick visual image on where are the WOPs happening and where are the connections between countries and even regions. So I just wanted to give this very brief introduction before we started the discussion. In terms of WOP platforms, there are very well WOP platforms established in the different regions. You can see the WOP-LAC in Latin America, CARI-WOP in the Caribbean, AFWA in Africa, Waterlinks in Asia, and PWWA in the Pacific. All right, and then there are several national WOP platforms, all supporting public utilities helping one another. So let me go back here. Oh, okay. So now we are going to give the floor to Anke Verheij. She's very well experienced in WOPs because she's also a resident manager herself in one of the projects in Vietnam. But she will be sharing today mostly in her category as Deputy Coordinator of the Waterworks program, the experiences that have been going on in general in the whole program. All right, so thanks a lot, Anke. I give you the floor. Stop sharing my screen.
Yes, thank you very much, Maria. I will start sharing my screen. So before telling you more about the experience we've had with COVID, I will start with a brief introduction on the Waterworks program in general. So Waterworks is a long-term partnership from 2016 until 2030, aiming to support water utilities in Africa, Asia, Latin America to improve services and create sustainable access to water and sanitation services for 10 million people by 2030. So we aim to contribute to the Sustainable Development Goal number 6. And we're doing this in a context of rapid urban growth, financial shortages, and increasing water scarcity and climate change, and because of that, a need for the identification of water sources. So within the Waterworks program, we have 26 water operator partnerships, and in total 39 utilities are involved. These 39 utilities combined have more than 30 million customers. And we support them with know-how on various topics, financial, asset management, technical, commercial, HR, leadership, organizational development, on a variety of topics. There are more than 300 Dutch experts involved from all the water companies, and these are Dutch experts that usually before COVID would travel to the project country for about 3 weeks to support the local water utility on a certain topic. We also support utilities with investments in water and sanitation services, with providing direct access in relatively poor neighborhoods, but also with small investment in non-revenue water reduction, in water quality monitoring equipment, these small investments. So the aim, as I said, is to increase water supply services and sanitation facilities to 10 million people. And on the one hand, we focus on financial, technical, and social sustainability of the local partner companies. But what is also an important aspect, or also relatively new aspect, is that we focus on the enabling environment in which these water utilities operate. So in terms of laws and regulations, financing and policies. So from the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs in certain selected countries, in our case, Kenya, Ethiopia, Colombia, and Vietnam, through the Dutch Embassy, we are having targeted activities aiming to improve the enabling environment. And also what we do is we want to increase access to water infrastructure investment finance. We do this by developing investment proposals and engaging with domestic and international financing organizations and banks. What's also unique about this program is that all Dutch water utilities are involved. So all 10 Dutch water companies have projects within this Waterworks program. The Waterworks program consists of 3 different phases, and we are now working towards the end of phase 1. And the aim of the first phase is to really focus on getting the basics right, the financial, technical, and social sustainability. And we want to provide access to water to 1 million people. And then in the second and the third phase, we aim to increase access to 9 million more people, and we do this through upscaling of certain results and also of implementing funded investment proposals. And the program is funded by the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs, by the DGIS, and also co-funded by the Dutch and the local water utilities. This map provides an overview of all the countries we work in, mainly in Africa, also Asia, and one country in Latin America. Some results from the first phase. 1 million people, first time access to water or sanitation. We've worked on many leadership programs in all these different water operator partnerships. We've been developing water resources plans for the future, developing investment proposals and pilots, so district metered areas, mainly focusing on non-revenue water reduction. We also cooperate with the Netherlands Water Partnership, in which 35 local young experts are part of the project team for about 2 years, supporting the project team, and it's a kind of traineeship. So from the Netherlands Water Operator Partnership, this GWOP program, they have trainings in personal development, leadership, other topics, which they can apply in their daily work. In 2019, the midterm review of the program took place, which in general gave a very positive result of the program, and also recommendations for what to improve also with the second phase that we are aiming. This gives a very a clear example of some work that we've been doing and results that we've been reaching in Mwanza, Tanzania, where non-moving water is going down. More leakages are being repaired and reported, and also mapped, better insights in the weak parts of the network, and increased performance monitoring of the plumbers, which has also increased motivation of a part of the plumbers, and more visibility of the plumbing works. And this is a long list of deliverables, but it also shows how many people, how many countries, how many plans and projects have all been involved in this project. So there's also a lot of local staff involved, local project coordinators, POR coordinators for the network extension projects that we are doing, and young experts have been saying. We're also providing short courses, or IG Delft is providing short courses for the staff members of the water utilities to join. And we are collaborating with a lot of other programs as well. And as it looks like now, the deliverables of phase 1 will be that we will be even reaching more people than the 1 million originally promised with first-time access to water and sanitation. 1.6 million. And we're already working on the development of the second phase of the program, which we aim to continue with most of the partnerships, because we think it's important to have a long-term partnership. In the beginning, it takes some time to get to know each other, to find out, to establish trust between the partners. And for a long-term partnership, it's really possible to create a long-lasting change. We want to mainstream new approaches, focus more on outcomes instead of outputs, engage partner utility experts to become mentor to colleagues. They want to extend to other utilities, and also have more South-South short-term experts. We also want to focus more on the enabling environment, because we see this as a very important aspect to be able to create change, and want to enlarge knowledge management aspects of the program. And in the second phase, of course, to reach this 10 million people, we have to be able to reach even more people. So the target is to reach 3.5 million people with improved water and sanitation service levels. So we are leveraging investment funding, direct financing of basic services. We are establishing an operational fund for safely managed services, and providing technical assistance to improve service level from basic to safely managed. So this means improving the number of hours of supply, the water quality, or the access to water on premises. But of course, we've also been affected by COVID. In general, most of our project, they have resident project managers from Dutch water utilities, who because of COVID had to return to the Netherlands. Most of the project managers returned to the Netherlands. By now, most have returned, like myself, I'm back in Vietnam, but I've also spent half a year in the Netherlands. So most are back in country, but the short-term experts are no longer in the field, and also most likely till mid next year, they won't be able to travel to the project countries. And because of this, the focus of the project shifted, which is also the good thing, or the flexibility of the program, that we are able to shift the focus of the project. We've been able to spend some of the budget on COVID relief measures, as you can see in these pictures, focusing on hygiene, on access to water supply, extending the network to more people. And also sometimes the shift of the programs meant that we would focus more on data management and webinars, which is more easily to do from a distance. And in general, all projects, they see that there's very frequent online communication and regular calls, which is also a good thing, that it's more easily now to approach from the Netherlands. So the adapted interaction that we've had on the, as you can see, we've been having a lot of online meetings. We've been doing a lot of webinars, as you can see in the picture on the bottom on the left. And one of the projects, for example, also started a YouTube channel with movies that are not only viewed by the four partner water supply companies in the Philippines, but also other water supply companies in the Philippines have been joining and have been able to benefit from this YouTube channel, and also all water companies in general can benefit from it. So that's also a positive, on a positive note, that the work that we're doing has been able to reach more and more people and more utilities. The main challenges is that some of the staff members of the water utilities have very little experience in working digitally. And sometimes there's very little access to digital equipment. Some of the water companies, there are almost no computers available. Some people that are working from home do not have a computer or a laptop at home. But we try to find ways to cope with this, such as using Facebook, because for example, in Myanmar, everybody has access to Facebook, so they use Facebook and have a call through Facebook and to connect to the staff members of the water utilities. Also, some of the topics are more difficult to discuss online because of the sensitivity of the topic, or the need to really see and investigate the actual technical situation. And also to cope with this, we are trying in some of the projects also to work more with local experts and trainers for some of the topics. Sometimes more difficult to keep momentum. When you're there for 3 weeks, it's more easy to make appointments and to work on a certain topic than when you are far away and you have all the time for a meeting. Follow up, and sometimes it's a bit of a challenge, but sometimes it's also easier because before COVID, most of the short-term experts were there for 3 weeks and then went back to the Netherlands, and then half a year later they returned. And then in the meantime, sometimes follow-up was little, but now there's more and more coaching also from the Netherlands taking place between the bigger events, and so that's a good thing. And sometimes there's just less interest in online meetings than there is in more on-site meetings, because people find it less interesting or they find it more difficult to make time. Of the lessons learned is that a lot of work can actually be done from a distance. Short-termers don't always need to be in the project country during the mission. And as I said, that there's now more and more coaching also from a distance taking place. And we're also planning on the second phase of Waterworks that more missions will be executed from the Netherlands instead of in country, which also reduces the carbon footprint, which is one of the aims of the second phase of the Waterworks program. There's also more and more knowledge sharing between projects. It's more easy if everyone is working online to share knowledge between projects. And there's more and more use made of projects that were in the same country when it was still possible sometimes to travel between the different towns or cities. Webinars are more easy to share. If there's a presentation and someone from another water company is interested as well, they can just easily join in the webinar. Or one person joins and if they think it's also applicable to their project, can learn from the webinar and use it, also apply it in their project. So that's now more and more easy. And we see a really quickly expansion of the knowledge sharing between the projects and the sharing of the webinars. And there are also local missions that took place, missions between projects, from local utility experts to other partner utility experts. And we also saw a very strong added value of the local team. The local team took a lot of ownership, made sure that the project would continue the work. And especially when it comes to the young experts, a lot of, this has proved to be a very strong added value. And as there are now 35 young experts. Also, the knowledge sharing. This is a picture of a meeting between all the young experts. There's also more and more knowledge sharing between the young experts taking place. And that's it for now. And I'm also very much looking forward to hear your experiences with dealing with COVID and working during these times. I think it would be nice to have a discussion. But thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Anke. Very interesting. I am sure there is a lot more to share. Let's leave it for later, the discussion, and I'm going to give the floor now to Charlotte Kopf from Dresden Water Utility, who will be sharing their experiences in their incipient or the starting of the WOP, I believe. Right, Charlotte?
Yeah, you're right.
All right, then well, I give you the floor. Thanks a lot.
Just share my screen as well. Hello from Germany, Dresden. Let me see if that works. I hope everyone sees my screen now.
Yeah.
There we go. Like you said, Maria, we just started our cooperation, our partnership with the Ukraine. Actually, not just by ourselves. We're just wastewater utilities for the city of Dresden and for the surrounding area. And the cooperation is together with the water and wastewater utilities from Berlin and Cologne. And the COVID struck us just like everyone. In 2019, the delegation from the Ukraine visited Germany to started the key finding and the exchange, and then the return visit couldn't take place as all the traveling regulations hit the project. So the current status is that the partnership is actually in the fact-finding process, and the work plan is established. And as we couldn't visit the Ukraine, basically what happened is that we learned from different projects that already took place in the Ukraine, and we tried to figure out all the information from different sources and compile all the facts and all the information we needed. And the work plan is getting established now, and both partners figured that we wouldn't want to spend a whole lot of time on getting to know each other and getting started, but actually implementing practical experiences and ideas to get going. So the first activity started, and I just want to show you some, I hope it was from a presentation, some examples. We started producing little videos so that some topics can be covered online. So for example, this video, I just want to start, I hope everyone sees it, where we figured out how can we exchange our know-how and adapt it to the Ukraine now, but also to different countries later. So we produced little videos for special topics, and we all subtitled them. So there are no, there's no voice or vocal implemented, but we can subtitle them in all different languages of the world. And we had colleagues coming up with those ideas to just film everything that we do here. So instead of actually visiting each other, we just showed them how our practical work is done in Dresden. So just that for an example. So the new format is introduced now. Took some time, especially to adapt for us as well as for the Ukraine, to get all the technical equipment and the sophisticated technique to actually communicate with each other. Another issue was, of course, the language barrier, which is always easier if you see each other or have someone to translate. So especially in the management level, often it's no big deal to communicate in English, but when it comes down to all the employees in the Ukraine and the international team that is working on the project here in Germany, it's sometimes hard to actually come together and figure out what everyone is expecting and to come to a fact finding where everyone talks about the same fact to start with. Well, yeah, the Corona regulations, I guess that's for everyone. I can say here, they're basically hitting all travel activities. So our company is not allowing any kind of, not even in a German travel. So yeah, all international traveling is stopped for now. But the knowledge transfer is still starting. So our idea and our main lesson learned is that we start a kind of hybrid model where we produce those onlines like I showed you, and we connect via video calls and meetings where we try the personal exchange like it was supposed to take place in the fact-finding phase. So yeah, all we do is now come together for different topics. And the idea behind it is that each colleague from Germany and the colleague that has the same topic in the Ukraine, they start little videos and explanations about the topic. So the idea is everyone shows what key facts they figure out and where their stand is in their practical work. And in the end, we hope after this video exchange, we can already start with implementing practical tasks and finding areas to start working with. And yeah, the next step is the priority setting and the practical implementation, like I said. The getting to know the responsible staff members is slowly but surely coming together, and the first online trainings are taking place as the technical equipment by now is sufficient enough that everyone can basically talk to each other and come together in meetings. And of course, we still try to build and maintain the network so that the people still get in touch with each other and that it's not just communication via videos that we produce and they don't actually connect with people, but in fact, we want the connection with people. So as soon as the travel regulations don't hit anymore, that the colleagues actually meet together and already work together so that the partnership is long lasting, and hopefully in 2.5 years, we will see each other and get together and finish up the project for the time frame for now, and then keep on working together like it's planned. And I still added the contact of my colleague, which is actually in charge of the international business for us. That's Billy Lenk. So if you have any questions, I will probably direct the questions to him. But for now, I'm answering all the questions that come up. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Charlotte. Very interesting, and also I think it's it nicely reflects the diversity of the WOPs that we have in the room today, in the sense of also at the stage at which they are at, and you're basically starting a WOP in COVID time. So of course I can imagine, and especially given the relevance that trust and relationship takes in WOPs, and the engagement and alignment between the partners, that is probably being something very, very challenging. But thanks so much for your presentation. I'll just emphasize to the audience that any question that you have, please include it in the Q&A section, so that we can later on address all the questions in the discussion, right? Okay, well, now I am going to give the floor to Noriel Katipon, a project manager in Manila Water, who is has been engaged in this WOP for already some years. And Noriel, you are project manager in Manila Water, but specifically coordinator of the knowledge of the non-revenue water working area within the WOP, right?
Yes.
All right, fantastic. So if you can please brief us about the project and share your innovations and challenges, that's great.
Okay, so good day everyone. So I'm Noriel Katipon. So I'm I said working with Manila Water Company. So I will share my screen. First, let me introduce myself. So I'm Noriel Katipon. Currently I'm a project manager, but I said previously I work in the non-revenue water projects of Manila Water in Vietnam and in Myanmar. So one of the project I work is in World Bank funded project in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. We have formed 119 DMAs and save about 130,000 cubic meter per day NRW only by leak detection and repair. We have not done any pipe replacement or meter replacement, so it's just physical loss. And I also have experience in some project in Myanmar, but it's I think 2 years. I spent 2 years there, so that's I think some experience. Just some of you my experience in non-revenue water project. So for this partnership, so it's between Manila Water Company and Philippines and Danang Water Supply joins the company in Danang City, Vietnam. So just an introduction. So this partnership program is in Asia between Danang and Manila under Water Links. So just to give you basic information of Manila Water and Danang. So for Manila Water Company, our population served is more than 8 million customer. Our number connection is more than 1 million. For the customer profile, 95% is residential and 5% industrial. And we have about 2,400 employees. Currently, our NRW is about 10.4%. And our collection efficiency is 100%. Our average tariff is 0.27 USD. And our annual revenue is about 450,000 million US dollar. For the mentee, it's the Danang Water Supply Company in Danang City, Vietnam. So their population served more than 1 million with more than 300,000 service connection. Their employees 547 and their NW is also low at 14.24%. Their collection efficiency is about 87.84 and their average tariff is 0.29 US dollar and their annual revenue is about 23.64 million US dollar. So we started the program October 2019. So we have visited the Danang City. So we have identified 4 working area. So the first one is the non-revenue water. So we have chosen 2 DMA with high NRW, and the findings also is they have lack of leak detection equipment. So for the short-term action plan, our target is the calculation of water balance and the DMA managed program. We have completed the calculation of the water balance, and we have started the training for CPT, but it's only held online because of the pandemic. For the customer service, the challenges for them is they have no customer service standard, and the complaint is manually logged, but there are no analysis of complaint. So for the staff action item, it's drafting of a process and receiving and solving customer complaint, development of customer service standard. So it's already reviewed by Manila Water, so it will be finalized soon. For the other working area, it's the asset management. So they need to have a condition of assessment report, and they have JS data for their water treatment plant, but they don't have asset management program. So for the action plan is the development of conditional assessment report for one of their treatment plant and implementation of an asset management program. So we have done that training. So hopefully it will be completed, the condition assessment program for the Caudo treatment plant on November. And the existing draft asthma program is will be adjusted if and if Manila Water will be give sample. And the last working area is the human resources development. So they need to they need to translate their company's target into key performance indicator, and they don't have any guidelines for the annual staff evaluation, and they have no annual staff evaluation. So our action plan is to develop a key performance indicator for the WACO as an organization, and development of the training plan for the staff. So for the second part, so how has the distance imposed by travel restriction affected the progress of your partnership program? So I think the travel restriction has really slowed down the progress. We target to finish the program October this year. So we plan to have field training and activities at the field, but it doesn't happen. So we plan to have the zero pressure test, step testing, and leak detection. But because of the pandemic, we have done it only online. But I think it's not very effective, because I think it's better to do it at site. So because the people we need to train are the staff, but usually it's very hard for them, usually also because of the communication barrier, the language barrier. So it's usually better if we do it actual. Also is the validation of data. So usually they given us the report, but to validate it, for example, the supply, how do they compute the supply, or the computation of the bill volume for the DMA. So it's difficult. And also is the validation of progress. So there are progress, but I think it's easier if we we can travel there and interview some employee on if the program is working. So the number is how have the partners decided to adapt their interaction since the restriction started? So Manila Water and the WACO have adopted some key strategies. So first is the formation of dedicated teams for each working area. So for example, I'm the key person for Manila Water for the mentor for the NRW reduction. And there are other staff member of Manila Water who are in charge and to coordinate with the WACO for other working area. And we also revisit and agreed on the activities and action plan. And we have conducted online and virtual meetings, and we have do some online trainings and webinar. So the number is what have been the main challenge for the collaboration. So for me, I think the communication and language barrier is I think the main challenge. It's usually because the one think we should be learned for the training is for example, the leak detectors, and it's very hard for them to communicate. And if it's better if we train them at field, so I think they will learn more. And also is the validation of progress. For the main lesson learned, so I think it's the follow-up meeting should be frequent to keep the communication open and to to avoid like lacks something. So, and I think the virtual and online meeting will be the new normal, but hopefully we can improve more on how to do it, because it's really is a challenge on doing it. So I think that's what I can share about our experience between our partnership with the WACO and Manila Water.
Thanks so much, Noriel. Very
Alright, thank
interesting. Thanks so much. Again, I would encourage anyone to include the questions in the Q&A. And I'm going to invite now Fernando Villalbir, General Manager of Aguas de Cihuatepeque in Honduras. We're going to be hearing an experience, an exchange between two water operators that even started already, I think, if I'm not mistaken, within COVID. So that is Fernando, if you can hear me well. Fernando.
Hola, buenos días, María. Muchas gracias.
Hola, ¿me escuchas bien?
¿Me escuchas?
Sí, perfecto. Fenómeno. Pues cuando quieras nos puedes contar un poquito tu experiencia.
Muchas gracias. Bueno, un saludo a todas y todos. Primero agradecer a los organizadores, felicitar a los organizadores por este magnífico evento. Creo que este evento va más allá de un simple webinario. Este es un intercambio multicultural muy interesante. Me siento muy halagado de estar formando parte de este intercambio maravilloso entre muchos profesionales a nivel mundial, así que nos complace mucho. Insisto, agradecer y reconocer el trabajo de los organizadores y particularmente a GWOPA, UNO Habitat y WOPLAC por formarnos e incluirnos en estos procesos. Y bueno, la pandemia nos trajo problemas, pero también nos trajo oportunidades. Y una de estas enormes oportunidades fue precisamente ver de qué manera podíamos ponernos al día y mover y sacudir un poco el polvo y ponernos al día con un intercambio de experiencias. Y fue así como a través de WOPLAC dijimos, bueno, veamos de qué forma podemos desarrollar un intercambio virtual para tocar temas de trascendencia para la prestación de los servicios en nuestros países. Y un tema que nos ocupa es el tema de manejo de las fuentes productoras de agua, el deterioro ambiental que están teniendo nuestras fuentes productoras de agua. Y eso fue un tema que nos motivó a buscar acercarnos a WOPLAC y conocer la experiencia que estaba teniendo Aguas de Quito con el tema de los fondos de agua. Eso nos impulsó mucho. Al final, bueno, dijimos, tenemos restricciones, es cierto, tenemos restricciones, pero también hay un tema que nos ocupa, hay un problema en la prestación de los servicios que tenemos que ver de qué manera resolvemos, y sabemos que hay un operador en Sudamérica con un avance significativo y queremos conocer esa experiencia. Sabemos que no va a ser probablemente lo mismo el hecho de no estar de manera presencial, pero tenemos una enorme posibilidad que es a través de esta plataforma de empresas hermanas de Latinoamérica, y afortunadamente la experiencia se dio. Obviamente, con todas las restricciones que esta situación se dio, pero afortunadamente también pudimos desarrollar este importante encuentro a través de la organización que nos permitió WOPLAC. Nosotros logramos desarrollar varias temáticas a través del encuentro. Tuvimos varias semanas organizando el encuentro. Quizás las ocupaciones que cada empresa tenía, debemos de decir que Aguas de Quito es una empresa sumamente de las más grandes de Sudamérica. Nosotros somos una empresa pequeña de Centroamérica. Obviamente el organizador, que en este caso es GWOPA, que estaba, ellos no ven magnitudes de operadores, ellos nos ven a todos por igual, pero por supuesto las ocupaciones de Aguas de Quito son diferentes a las nuestras, y quizás eso dificultó un poquito los tiempos, ¿verdad? Por las agendas que tiene cada uno de los operadores. Podemos decir que quizás eso fue uno de los desafíos que probablemente pudimos haber tenido, es lograr alinear que todos los especialistas, por ejemplo, del operador mentor, estuvieran al mismo tiempo, en el mismo lugar y en el mismo horario, ¿verdad? Ese es una de los desafíos que tuvimos en ese momento, porque las ocupaciones, insisto, que se tuvieron en ese momento en plena pandemia no era del todo fácil para todos los operadores a nivel nacional, tanto en Quito como aquí en Honduras. Y una de las cosas que yo quiero resaltar, María, y a todos los participantes, de las enormes bondades que ha tenido estos intercambios virtuales, es que nosotros logramos aquí, a través de este webinario, de este intercambio internacional, fue la participación de varios actores a nivel de toda Honduras. Logramos que participaran funcionarios de gobierno, representantes de las organizaciones civiles de aquí de la ciudad de Ciguatepeque a nivel central, representantes de la academia. Hubieron cerca de 40, 50 participantes que participaron no solamente directamente como Aguas de Ciguatepeque, y eso es una de las grandes potencialidades que tiene un intercambio virtual. O sea que el intercambio no estuvo cerrado a 4 participantes que viajaron a un país y que se quedaron directamente con el conocimiento, sino que lo abrimos a varios participantes, y eso es una de las experiencias más exitosas que nosotros podemos rescatar, y también aprovechamos a vincularlo con otros jefes de áreas de lo interno de Aguas de Ciguatepeque. De repente áreas que no necesariamente, recordemos que los intercambios de experiencias obviamente son para 2 o 3 personas por temas presupuestarios, pero nosotros logramos incluir a otros funcionarios dentro del mismo operador para que se involucraran también en el proceso. ¿Por qué es importante para nosotros haber involucrado a otros actores? Porque aquí en el país, aquí en Honduras, hay proyectos que se están desarrollando con fondos, por ejemplo, de la Banca de Desarrollo Internacional, y nos interesaba que ellos también conocieran la experiencia de Aguas de Quito para poder desarrollar un proyecto piloto de fondos de agua aquí en el país. Entonces, el haber participado en este intercambio de experiencias no solamente nos generó conocimiento a nosotros, sino que nos permitió establecer hilos conductores con los directores de estos proyectos para que después nosotros nos quedáramos trabajando de manera directa con ellos y poder darle seguimiento a los proyectos que nosotros queremos desarrollar aquí en Honduras. Nosotros creemos que los intercambios presenciales probablemente sean insustituibles. Hay cosas que definitivamente no vamos a poder sustituir por una cámara. Va a ser muy difícil. Hay cosas que definitivamente uno tiene que verlas y conocerlas en el sitio. Pero sí hay algo muy importante. Yo creo que de ahora en adelante los intercambios deberán de ser mixtos. Un intercambio no solamente tiene que quedarse con una visita a un país para conocer una experiencia. Los intercambios ahora tienen que dársele seguimiento a través de intercambios virtuales. Tiene que haber una planificación que nos garantice el seguimiento, y esos seguimientos definitivamente tendrán que ser a través de intercambios virtuales. Eso no tengo ninguna duda. Tiene que haber un plan de acción, y ese plan de acción tiene que ser monitoreado a través de un intercambio virtual. Eso es una de las grandes lecciones que definitivamente nos ha quedado a nosotros por temas presupuestarios, por temas logísticos, por temas de tiempo, de recursos, por evaluación, por monitoreo de indicadores, por lo que se nos imagina. El seguimiento de los WOPs, de los intercambios internacionales, ahora creo yo que tiene que ser a través de intercambios virtuales, y eso por supuesto es una lección que definitivamente nos debe de quedar sumamente claro en este nuevo rol que nos ha quedado con esta nueva era de los intercambios virtuales. En términos generales, esa es la experiencia que nosotros hemos tenido, y quiero cerrar reflexionando en este tema diciendo que en nuestros países tenemos la enorme posibilidad de formar parte de plataformas como WOPLAC, y quizás falta un poquito de mercadeo y de repente falta un poco de interés. Sabemos que existen, o de repente no tenemos tanto conocimiento de que existen estas posibilidades, pero mucho depende del interés que pueda haber de parte de un operador para poder optar. WOPLAC no nos cobra a nosotros por ser parte de esta membresía. Este intercambio no tiene ningún costo para nosotros. Muchos de los webinarios y de los intercambios virtuales jamás han tenido un tan solo centavo de costo para los operadores. Muchas veces lo que hace falta es un poco de interés y un poco más de liderazgo dentro del sector agua y saneamiento. Así que de nuestra parte, esa es una breve reseña de la experiencia que nosotros hemos tenido como Aguas de Ciguatepec en este intercambio que tuvimos con Aguas de Quito. Esperamos que si hay alguna consulta podamos evacuarla durante la etapa de preguntas y respuestas.
Muchísimas gracias, Fernando. Muchísimas gracias también por el entusiasmo y por haber participado y presentado, aun siendo allí creo las 6:30 de la mañana. Muchísimas gracias, de verdad que son mensajes muy, muy alentadores. We are going to now open the floor, even though the discussion and the question and answer have already started through the Q&A. I would like to ask participants to just include the questions that they might have in the Q&A so that we can read them out loud. In the meantime, there are a couple of them that have not been answered yet. I will just read them out loud. From Tetske Tulga, what was the main challenge to implement the asset management? What was the main focus of the asset management training and focus group? I believe this question would be addressed to Noriel, is it so? Noriel, could you provide some insights on how you address this topic?
Because the asset management of the WOP is like just they record the asset or usually they do depreciation, but they don't have the like proactive asset management like we do in Manila Water, because for Manila Water we have record then if before the end of asset life, so we replace it to avoid disruption to our operation. It's like proactive asset management.
Maria, you're still muted.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Thanks so much, Noriel. Can any other members from the panel want to also address this question? I was more specifically referring to Anke with all the experiences in Waterworks. If there is any particular insights that you would like to share about the work on asset management and how the trainings are conducted.
Yes, we are working on asset management in many of the WOPs. I think in general, we see that especially when it comes to data management, this is easier to do from a distance, this kind of work. And yes, we also work on the GIS systems, also included in many of the projects, and easy to do from a distance. In some of the water companies, the screen is being shared. You can directly see what someone is doing and then provide specific input on GIS.
Mm-hmm. Thanks so much. I just want to bring the attention to all the participants that there have been a lot of questions and that have already been answered in the chat, in the Q&A box. I'll read them out loud later on if there is time. But in the meantime, let's also address other new questions. This is from Julie Perkins. I would be interested to know if COVID shifted Menti operators' priorities and how the WOPs adapted to this. Were any WOPs able to take advantage of the heightened appreciation concern of water and sanitation services? So I guess we can divide this in two questions. So the first one, was it there is a shift in priorities that you felt in the different water operators that you work with? I would address this question first to Noriel and then to Anke as well. Was there, based on the pandemic, any shift of priorities, any changes on the projects that you perceived?
For Manila Water and Davao, I think it's because we have only 4 working areas, so it's we don't have a change in priority, so we just focus on that 4 working area. So I think it's the same.
All right.
For us.
Yeah, thank you so much. Anke, did you feel that what projects shifted priorities during this time?
Yes, I think many of our partner water supply companies, they really took a role also in promoting hygiene practices, while this was not always the case yet. So in this, they shifted a bit their role, and also because of COVID, there was also the possibility to channel some financing from international financial institutions to the WOPs, because there were more investments in the water supply.
Okay,
for example,
so then that was an opportunity there.
Services to schools and hygiene practices there.
All right, thanks so much. Charlotte, maybe even though there was an inception process, maybe to what extent you felt that the priorities and the initial ideas on what was important shifted through this time of COVID?
Well, I guess for us, it's more organizational and economic and ecological topics, and not so much about sanitation issues in the Ukraine. So I guess the topics and the fact-finding would have been quite similar to the results we figured out now. But in fact, in Germany, we started to analyze the wastewater on our treatment plant to relate to the amount of people infected with COVID in the city. Mm-hmm. So there's like a new area started, but it's more or less know-how which we do with the university, and yeah, it's rather nothing for the WOP directly, but we'll see probably how long we figure out how to fight COVID. So probably we can also use it for our work with the Ukraine.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. And Fernando, maybe you can also share with us your experiences within your utility, how from your perspective, priorities might have changed through this time. Lo digo ahora en español, aunque creo que te están traduciendo, pero ¿cómo Fernando, en tu caso, en Aguas de Siguatepeque, cómo se han cambiado las prioridades, si han cambiado las prioridades en estos últimos meses en la empresa?
Definitivamente mucho, María, han habido, después del inicio de la pandemia, han habido muchos cambios. A partir del mes de marzo, que fue cuando ya tuvimos una presencia fuerte de la pandemia aquí en el país y varias decisiones a nivel gubernamental, comenzamos a sentir un impacto muy fuerte económico, principalmente aquí en la institución. Y tuvimos que comenzar a tomar algunas decisiones que nos obligaron a replantear algunas cosas, a garantizar en primera instancia la operación y mantenimiento del sistema, porque estábamos teniendo como prioridad el suministro de agua potable para la ciudadanía. Vivimos en un país con dificultades para suministrar un servicio con los mejores indicadores de desempeño. Tenemos dificultades, tenemos un servicio intermitente con trabajo fuerte todavía por mejorar aspectos de calidad de agua, y por supuesto que nuestra preocupación siempre fue asegurar que la población tuviera lo mejor en tiempos de pandemia, ¿verdad? Y en un escenario en el que también teníamos que asegurar la salud de los colaboradores de la institución. Entonces, a pesar de que estábamos en plena pandemia y con la obligación prácticamente de poder entregarle agua a la población, también teníamos que asegurar que el colaborador estuviera protegido para que no se enfermara. Por otro lado, tuvimos que sacrificar algunos programas de inversión. Tuvimos que sacrificar algunos programas de inversión por este tema de los ingresos, y tuvimos que impulsar algunos planes que están orientados a identificar algunos recursos para captar la ayuda de la cooperación internacional. Ese es un aspecto sumamente importante que esperamos que tenga algunos frutos en el corto y mediano plazo.
Muchísimas gracias, Fernando. Thanks so much. I don't see other questions for the time being in the Q&A, but I would like to, of course, invite everyone to just pose the question, but I would like to then ask a question myself to all the panelists, particularly in those projects that have been going on for some time. And to what extent do you feel that the COVID has affected the relationship between partners? Because depending on how the project is configured, and the distance, in fact, between them during this time could have left, let's say, the relationship abandoned for some time. In some of the cases, it might have even been strengthened because of the needs and the adapted shape that has taken the project. So I would like to ask the panelists to give a word on this, on how the distance and the challenge has affected the relationship between partners. Anyone would like to start?
Actually, I have a short statement on that one. I just came back at the end of February from Vietnam for an teach or train the trainer program of a week. So that was basically me coming back, and then like half a week later, I guess it was, that everything was shut down and all travel plans were canceled. And we felt that the two trainings that were supposed to take place in March and April, well, they didn't take place or took place virtually, but it was not the same exchange as all the trainings before. But still, we had quite a good connection and we knew each other and all the partners for the longest while. So it was not a whole lot about, okay, how we're going to figure out solutions for the exchange. It was rather like, how is it going for you? What's the difference in your country? Or what are your issues you're facing now? And with the Ukraine now, we saw them in 2019, which was nice. And there's like the first connection, but sure, not such a close connection yet as it is with a corporation partner, which you know for years.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks so much for that insight. I think it's very, very relevant. Any other that wants to share the experience of how this has impacted the relationship between partners?
Sí, claro.
Perfecto, Fernando.
Sí, María.
Sí.
Sí, mira el título de la distancia hace que un WOP sea más fuerte, desafíos y oportunidades. Mira qué interesante. Y a nivel local, a nivel nacional, nosotros con APSAS, que es la Asociación Hondureña de Prestadores de Servicios de Agua y Saneamiento, definitivamente sí hemos resentido el impacto. Vamos a casi un año en la que no hemos logrado tener una tan sola reunión presencial, María. Ha sido sumamente difícil. Y aparte de eso, han habido algunos eventos aquí a nivel nacional con algunos fenómenos naturales que han imposibilitado que haya entusiasmo por parte de los operadores para poder tener algunas reuniones virtuales de la asociación. Es más, debo decirte que siento que ha habido una sobresaturación también de videoconferencias, porque ha habido videoconferencias por todos lados y de todo tipo. Y yo creo que hay un cierto cansancio de los operadores, no solamente yo creo que a nivel internacional, porque han habido muchas conferencias y probablemente puede ser una oportunidad, María, como para definir una estrategia y refrescar un poco al operador con otra temática que no necesariamente sea una temática muy técnica, ¿verdad? Una temática muy técnica, sino que sea una temática como de salud emocional. No sé, se me ocurre, quizás son cosas así que nos permitan volver un poco a recordar que esto nos ha generado estrés, nos ha generado también varios problemas de tipo emocional, y de repente puede ser una buena oportunidad para que dejemos de hablar un poco de cosas muy o demasiado técnicas y nos ayuden un poco a conjuntarnos y a buscar temas que nos permitan volvernos a conjuntar. Pero en conclusión, yo creo que sí, nos ha afectado. No sé si Valeria está en el panel y nos seguramente puede dar fe de la última asamblea de WOPLAC. No sé al final si tuvimos una buena participación en la asamblea. Yo fui parte de la asamblea y creo que sí fue buena, pero no sé si al final participamos todos en la región, pero en mi criterio muy particular creo que sí tuvo alguna afectación.
Muchas gracias. Thanks so much. Anke, would you like to share your perspective from so many projects? How did you feel that it impacted it?
I think that we are lucky that the Waterworks program started in 2017. So with most of the WOP partners, we have a cooperation, a relationship for at least 2 years. And also most of the short-term experts, they already visited the project countries, and they are already have established their relationship with the staff of the water supply companies. So I think in general that makes it easier. Also some experience that it was actually good for the relationship because it is now possible to have more frequent contact than we had before. Also in these times of, for some people it was causing a bit of stress and uncertainty, and also sharing these feelings and supporting the water supply companies to dealing with such a big issue also helped actually in getting even closer in the relationship. But now, well, it is longer and longer that the short-term experts have not been able to visit the project country. So I think, yeah, the longer it lasts, the more difficult it will be to maintain the close relationship that we have. So I do think it is challenging, but it is a good thing that most of the resident project managers are now back in country, which makes it easier again to work together.
Yeah, thanks. Of course, in the case of a lot of the projects in Waterworks, there is a very particular element, which is that what you just mentioned, that there is a resident project manager working on a daily basis with the local partner, which of course probably has an enormous impact in terms of the relationship, and that probably helped a lot to navigate in the distance for some time. I think if we let me see if there are any other questions. Yeah, sorry. Philip Veller. My organization has run a WOP in Europe, but also has experience in providing capacity development programs that have helped to switch to online training. My question is, the new knowledge that online works best combined with face-to-face, online works, affect how WOPs are managed. Less travel and more online support. So if I'm understanding well, the question is, to what extent the online knowledge exchange affects how the WOPs are being managed. So basically, maybe thinking in the future, and I think Anke already reflected on this, the extent to which a combination of more distance support will be there once restrictions are over and we start to work with freedom of movement. To what extent there are lessons that are going to be implemented in the future from the support. I hope, Philip, I hope I'm conveying your question here, but that's what I understand from what you wrote. To what extent that is going to happen and shift the mode in which capacity development happens in the projects. So I think maybe Anke, you want to emphasize that aspect. So how is the knowledge management, the knowledge transfer, the activities, how is the balance between inside and online? Is it going to continue as it was before, or in the future when there is freedom of movement, it will change as well based on the learnings?
I think this will change. I think there will be more online support, and specifically between missions. I expect that there would be more coaching and more follow-up from a distance between visits on site.
Okay, so that's a learning not only for Waterworks, but of course a learning for the WOP practice. And in that sense, of course, a painful process to learn something that probably is actually very helpful, not only in terms of reallocation of funding, but also minimizing carbon footprint and access. No, in some cases, access, like it was the case of Fernando when they wouldn't even meet during the WOP, and there was a good exchange and support from other operator. I have another question here. What advice would you give for those planning upcoming WOPs, given likely continued COVID-related travel restraints and taking into account the climate benefits or reducing travel? So anyone who wants to reflect on advice for newcomers on the WOP practice? in these pandemic times? Any reflection there?
I just have one short reflection. We had an exchange with different engineering companies from Germany, which actually also worked in the Ukraine. So to somehow balance out our visit in the Ukraine, we just collected as much information here in the country as we could. And we figured out that there have been different projects that related to topics that we can use, and brought us information that we would have probably not used if we just could have visited. And so they shared their experience with their projects, which was not bad, I guess. So there are always new opportunities with challenges coming up.
Yeah, and the willingness to share and to collaborate, right?
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. I think I can also distill from what has been said that working with strongly through WOP with local members helps a lot. In the case of Waterworks, on one hand, of course, the resident project manager, who is normally not a local, but also the YEPers, the local people recruited for the program, or local coordinators. Of course, that gives continuity in terms of distance. And I think even in some projects, Anke, they have resorted to recruit local people, even outside from the water company, to be able to provide some technical support that is not yet in the company as a measure to address some more immediate needs, right?
Yes, indeed. In some of the cases, local consultants were hired, for example, or local trainers on, for example, leadership development, organizational development, local HR experts. So indeed, also local expertise was being used.
Yeah, thank you. So I think this also speaks about the flexibility of the WOP approach in that sense. When there are needs and they are not being addressed, try to look for ways in which they can be addressed. I see here another comment question. Nelson Castano, hi, we started this year WOP Colombia. What advice would you give us to achieve partnerships seeing the challenges of the pandemic? A lot of advice from the panels. WOP Colombia, Nelson, you refer to the national platform, I believe, and it's a really great initiative supported by ADB, Inter-American Development Bank, yes, in which the idea is, of course, to create national support between water operators within Colombia. So it's in a very early stage of development. And I think if anyone would like to, from the panel, if anyone would like to share some advice or give some advice on how in these times they could get it moving, well, I guess Nelson will be very, very, very happy about it. So anyone would give any advice?
Yeah, I find it difficult to give advice without knowing the project. I'm wondering, is it a new project, a new partnership?
I can, given that the pity that audience cannot really speak, and I one part of this format that I really dislike, but I have to speak for them, I guess. So, okay, hello, we started this year WOP Colombia. What advice would give us to achieve twinning, seeing the challenges of the pandemic? Okay, let me explain a bit to you what I know about the national platform, Anke. This is a new initiative that is being created, and of course the objective is to try for Colombian operators to help one another. So I think they are now at the moment in which they are trying to start identifying, well, I guess, which operators are going to help which operators, what are the formats, what to do, probably what to do with the distance and the restrictions at this point. if there is any idea, of course, the situation is difficult no matter what, but maybe there are any ideas in the panel to share with Nelson. He is the coordinator of the program.
Well, just short. I don't know what the results will be, but I figure our plan was not the worst, to get all the participating members to basically introduce themselves and introduce their field of working and their expectations on the partnership, just to help all the others, first of all, getting to know each other. It's like rather being in a huge meeting where everyone is not given the time to present himself or to think about what his major working fields are. It's really nice to have everyone just formulating their expectations of the partnership, and then getting to know each other, and probably already figuring out who's interested in who's, like, what working fields are coming together, and what people can be interesting for exchange.
Mm-hmm. Thanks so much. Indeed, Charlotte, you have a lot of experience at this point. Sí, Fernando.
Hola, María.
Sí.
Sí, no, recomendar también que a través de WOPLAC, Valeria Suárez, hay muchísima experiencia para que se pongan en contacto con WOPLAC. Seguramente van a haber muchísimos consejos y recomendaciones para que puedan fortalecerse como asociación, y puedan, otra recomendación es que puedan trabajar de la mano con el regulador nacional. El regulador nacional puede tener puede ser un enlace que pueda fortalecerlos y pueda aglutinarlos, y con el que puedan trabajar de la mano también.
Muchas gracias. Thanks so much. I would like also to share, Nelson, that we from GWOPA, we have started to work with what we call Workplace, which is a social community platform, and it's being used in different ways to support different projects or programs. For basically, it's like an intranet, a global intranet for WOPs. Okay, just as a to describe it very simply. And we could also think of the possibility of supporting communication, online communication, through a community for the national platform as well, if that's something that could be of help. So just keep it in mind, and of course reach us if that could be of help. Also, we could also talk separately and brainstorm on ideas and ways of supporting you. We are reaching 3 p.m. So I think it's a good time for us to think of closing this session. I would like to thank everyone for really the rich discussions and the ability and willingness to share. I think it's a very challenging time at the moment, and the experiences of WOPs are proving to be resilient in that way of trying to address anything that comes along. The communication will be on the ongoing challenges, shared experiences, etc. will be open in Workplace. All of you who have subscribed for the webinar have received an email from us with the possibility to log in and start sharing there. And I would like just to have a last word in saying that despite all the bad that the whole pandemic has brought to everyone, and particularly in water utilities, there are very good lessons and learnings that have come out for the WOP practice, and that those have been shared today, and those will be, of course, taken forward in whatever program and whatever policies hopefully will be made in place by governments engaged, and especially also by GWOPA. I would like to thank everyone that has been involved, Waterworks, GIZ for co-organizing the webinar, All the speakers, thanks so much for the valuable insights. The translators that are somewhere behind the scenes, and also the GWOPA team who's working also behind the scenes to make sure that everything runs smoothly. And we are going to leave it here for the time being until a next webinar. Any comment, we can continue the conversation in Workplace. All right? So thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care. Keep safe.
Thank you so much, Maria.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Hope to see you soon.
Yes, it's been nice to meet you.
Thanks for the exchange. Have a good afternoon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks so much.